have been burned, which is not actually the right word for it because they're water brushes, and when they leak all over you, that's kind of the opposite of being burned. But I have gotten screwed over by some water brushes in the past on many levels. Whether these are good or not matters to me. Hi everybody, today I'm going to be taking a look at the VIP box from Tombow that just released at the end of the month of May 2019, and specifically at the new Tombow water brushes. Biggest reason being is that none of these pens are new. These are all Tombow dual brush markers that have existed. Some of them are from the newest set, but they are like not new from this pack. And this is an exclusive just to the box. So I will touch on these, but the main meat of this review is going to be the new water brushes, which will be available for sale, and I want to talk about them. I have strong opinions about water brushes. I have been burned, which is not actually the right word for it because they're water brushes, and when they leak all over you, that's kind of the opposite of being burned. But I have gotten screwed over by some water brushes in the past on many levels. Whether these are good or not matters to me. The Tombow VIP box sells for $25 with free shipping in the United States. Then they say that you get a higher value of money for the box. I like ordering it because usually they release new products, and often the other products in the box are something like new and fun. In the past, they've had things like their new marker case, which I'm really glad I got, or their new Tombows, etc. So I generally will order it when it comes out. And it just so happens that I ordered it and it shipped and it got here right before I went to the Scrapbook Expo in Washington State to teach for a weekend. So I brought these with me to test while I was there. And not only did I test them, I let other people play with them too. So I've gotten some opinions on these from other people. I've gotten my own opinion on them. And I feel like I have a fairly good grasp of them for being able to use them for at least a weekend on the go. This Tombow VIP box had this watercolor journal. It is Maruman high quality Japanese paper, 156 GSM, which translates to roughly about 44 pound, which is a lot thinner than the paper I like for watercolor, but it has a nice texture to it and has a little like fun bow paper. Has a very light texture to it. It's not super textured like some watercolor paper, but it is definitely not hot press. I did put a heavy wash on this, and it did warp a little bit, but it held up pretty well, all things considered. I don't think I would use this as like a final piece kind of paper, but as a sketchbook, it's not bad. I wouldn't like do heavy wet work on this. I would try and keep it kind of dry. But you can do watercolor on this and have it not be a problem. Now they give you 5 pens. These are all Tombow dual brush pens, and I'm pretty sure that these 2 are part of the newest pack. This one actually may be new as well. I can't remember. I just loved that the teals are now a thing because teal was not a color they had a lot of. So I'm just going to show you them really quick so you can see what colors came with the box. They said that they sent these colors because they're kind of summery colors. I don't disagree. They are very summery colors. I have all of these colors already, but I'll take them. None of them are colors that are offensive to me. And the teals especially are colors I've been in love with recently. So I'm down with that. As for the journal itself, so adding those colors, you can see here that there's no bleeding or shadowing. There might be a little tiny bit of shadowing right here. Okay, now we talked about that. There's basic water, but the meat, here we go. Meat of the video, water brushes. Tombow has 3 water brushes. Now their MSRP that they say in the list is $16.99 for the 3-pack. The one with the kind of teal colored barrel is a brush tip, a standard brush tip. The green barrel is kind of like a liner brush. It does have bristles, but they're very tight. And then the blue one is a flat brush. Now, according to the paper, these fill up to 5.5 milliliter of water, which is a nicely sized water barrel. The biggest issue I run into with these is that if you tilt them the wrong direction, or if you fill them and then leave them like on their side for a bit, if the water brush is mostly full, it will start to leak a little bit at the tip. There's a couple of things that I really love about these. One, you squeeze this part of the barrel to release water, but this part is rigid. And for me, as someone who's heavy-handed, I struggle a lot with water brushes to hang on to them and not just spooge water everywhere. So having the nice, like, firm grip area is really helpful. There are some water brushes whose grip area is the part you squeeze, and I struggle with those. These ones are much more engineered for somebody with a heavy hand. You just don't want to overfill them and then leave them so that they start sprinkling water out. But overall, they don't leak. Overall, they're very nice. I love this tip assortment. You basically get everything you need: a liner, a wash, and a brush. and they work really nicely in tandem for doing any sort of sketching or whatever. So I'm going to show how they work both with paints and with the Tombows. So we're going to start with the Tombows. Now, a trick you got to remember with the Tombows is that they lay down wet, but then they dry. So you want to make sure to not take your sweet time when it comes to blending. I'm very barely squeezing any water out, but you can see here that I'm able to like kind of blend the Tombows together, make a really pretty kind of wash of color, and break it all up on the water paper. It's very nice kind of situation. But as you can see, I can start to feel the warping a little bit on the other side of this paper. Another note for those of you who haven't used water brushes before, to clean them, squeeze and get a little water going and then just run the brush back and forth. It's going to get stained. It's not going to look pretty anymore. It will be stained, but it should be fine. You just want to try and keep the tip from getting all jacked, but you can be pretty aggressive with cleaning a water brush on a paper towel and not have to worry so much about it. So now I'm going to take some just of this red down. I'm going to use the flat brush to bring it just out to create like a gradient wash here. You can pick up the color here and like start bringing it over if you want to, as long as it's still wet enough to keep it moving. You can put the Tombows flat on the paper and try them, or you can use an acrylic stamping block and color some color on here, and you can mix it here. Just know that if you're going to do this, it's going to transfer a lot lighter because it's getting, diluted with water. This might be a really great way to get some nice, like, sheer kind of washes. And remember, if you want to release a little bit more water to work it more, you just squeeze the brush. So that's with the Tombows. Now let me show how they behave with watercolor paints. As you can see, they perform really nicely with watercolor paints. The brush pen picks up the paint. The trick with this is that you want to make sure the paint gets wet enough, but that it doesn't get so wet that you lose the paint completely or you have trouble with the amount of water you're using. The skinny like liner brush works wonderfully, and the flat brush also can make some great washes. These work really well with Tombows or with regular paints. You do have a lot more control with these than you would with some water brushes because of the positioning of the barrel, but when you squeeze it, a lot of water does come out. As for price, these, according to the paper, MSRP of $16.99 for the pack of 3. You can get Pentel Aquash for about $14 for a pack of 3 with a slightly different tip collection. So my suggestion is, if you like the mixture of tips, and I do personally, for the liner brush and for the getting the liner, the wash, and the regular brush pen, I think this is a fantastic set for doing watercoloring on the go. If you're lettering, you can use the flat brush for calligraphy, but if you want to just do regular brush lettering, I would almost suggest you go with the Pentel Aquash because you have different sizes of brush. These ones are actually, I think, much more awesome for either doing lettering that's not brush calligraphy or actual sketching on the go. But I think these are a great set of water brushes and could be really helpful for somebody if they were interested in, water brushes in general. I'd love to know from you in the comments if these look like something you might get some use out of. Do you like using water brushes? Are you excited about the different tip sizes? And if you are interested in any videos about art or watercoloring or any reviews of watercolor, Tombow, whatever products, let me know in the comments down below. I totally can recommend these if there's something that you might be interested in and you think these tip sizes would be something that would be helpful for you in your art and your sketching. They are a lot of fun to play with, so I think that they're worth checking out. There's nothing garbage about them. I have tried some water brushes that have been raw bullshit, and these do not fit that. They do have a little bit of issue with extra water, so just be careful when you squeeze them, but otherwise I think that they're great. Let me know in the comments if there's anything else you'd like to hear me talk about when it comes to art supplies, watercolor, whatever the case may be. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video.